Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Today's a big day. Welcome to Monday, July 17th. Remember who we scheduled for this day? Mr. Theo Fleury. Can't miss it, can't miss it. He's here. We checked out his microphone. Everything's good to go. Quick heads up, as usually happens with me, Laura Ingram has scooped up one of the guests. So at one point, he's going to have to take off. And if we're lucky, he'll have time to come back. So we're going to go ahead and get into it really, really quick here because we got a lot to talk about with Theo today. But did you guys check out Twitter? I reached out to get Viva's attention, and 16 hours later, Viva's in my DMs talking to me about the Coots 4. So, folks, thank you all so much for getting Viva's attention on this, because Viva Fry talking about the Coots 4 is going to be a huge thing. He actually asked me, can you put me in contact with the people who know what's going on? I said, Viva, you reached them. It's going to be me, Granny, Donald, Danielle. And so we're going to be able to give Viva all of the good information about the Coots 4, what's really going on, get him around all of that media ban garbage that people are talking about, and get him to the truth. So Viva, thanks a lot for reaching out. And to everybody who sent him a message behind the scenes on Twitter, thank you. I believe it worked. So without further ado, folks, because we have a limited time with him tonight, I'm going to bring on our guest right away. And we got coming to the center, I can see him smiling there, Mr. Theo Fleury. Hello, how you doing? Peace.
What's up, fellow patriots?
What's up, patriots? Yeah, thank you so much for making it. Listen, why don't you tell them, what email did you get this morning? What do you got to do at some point here? You got to jump off for a bit.
Yes, I've been asked to. So Laura moved to a new time slot, which is, I believe it's Sean Hannity's old spot, because Waters World is now in the Tucker slot, and so Laura moved. So tonight is her first show in her first time slot, and she wants to talk about Trudeau's blame game, where he's blaming the far-right MAGAs for influencing the Muslim community about their kids being groomed in school, which is absolutely 100% ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, Trudeau's completely lost his own narrative. He's lied so many times, which is what happens, right? You tell so many lies, you can't keep all the lies straight. And so now he's just straight blaming, whoever. And, he's I don't know, he barked up the wrong tree on this one, I know for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. So he blamed far-right MAGA, which would be the Americans, not even the far-right us. So I guess he's done with us in the West.
Yeah. Well,
maybe not done,
it's
but
just like, he's such an idiot that, whatever pops in the top of his head, that's what he uses, right? Like, he has no filter. He doesn't care, so yeah. He got booed off the stage at the National Aboriginal whatever summer games thing or whatever it is last night. So, everywhere he goes, people dislike this man, and he's brought it all on himself, right? He only has himself to blame.
Absolutely. And thank you for keeping him, keeping on top of him for that. So Laura reached out to you as a good representation from Canada to speak on Trudeau. Thank you for doing that.
Oh yeah. Well, when the truckers first started to gather and started to move towards Ottawa, I sent her a tweet and I said, hey, Laura, I think you should have me on to talk about what's going on in Canada. And I didn't think she was going to respond. And I was getting ready for bed, and sure enough, her producer emailed me and said, yeah, Laura would love to have you on the show. And so that was my contribution to the Freedom Convoy, was to bring some awareness to the United States that, hey, Canada was fed up with the mandates. And, it wasn't that, I still look back on that and go, that was the greatest act of patriotism that I had ever witnessed in my country. And I had played in 2 Olympic Games.
That's right.
And this was, And this was like 10x of, you know, my Olympic experience, you know, as a, you know, like I was sitting on my couch, ugly crying, watching, you know, what was going on, because it was, you know, it was amazing. Truly was amazing to see, you know, the country rally around each other, and not only, and completely destroy the narrative that was out there, right? That, you know, there was every sect, every denomination, every religion, you name it, they were all out there. They were wearing whatever they could find that was red. And if they had a flag, they were bringing that out. And it was nonstop for 3 consecutive weeks. And it remained a peaceful protest. And it exposed the government of Canada as being probably the most corrupt government on the planet. And Trudeau was so scared, he shit himself and he had to leave because he thought it was about him. Ha!
Well, he wanted to make it about him.
That's how arrogant. That's how arrogant this man is, and has absolutely, you know, has zero self-awareness, like none at all. You know, he thinks the world loves him and he's important and all this stuff, and he is the biggest clown of all the politicians on the planet.
What's more dangerous, Trudeau or the media he supports?
Well, it's both. It's like it's a combination of both, you know, him being, you know, him, but the media absolutely just constantly lying and spreading misinformation and disinformation. You know, it's come to a point right now where I see, you know, that we're no longer going to get our media from the mainstream media. It's going to be from outlets like yours. It's going to be outlets like ours, Canadians for Truth. You know, the small independent media, you know, even Rebel News is, you know, I don't know about those guys. True North, you know, they're kind of safe, you know, and people are flocking to these type of programs to get their information from.
Absolutely. And even these little programs, we're able to get Newsweek to pay attention and write articles. We got somebody in the UK writing an article, but we can't get any attention in Canada at all.
Yeah.
And they're using this media ban for the Coutts 4 as the reason for it. But Theo, there is no media ban. There isn't actual media ban at all. They're just simply not covering it. And that includes Western Standard as well.
Yeah.
They're not covering it.
Yeah. Well, you know, well, thank God, you know, that Twitter is somewhat, you know, open where we can, you know, still communicate. But, you know, the reason why they want to shut down media outlets like yours and mine is because they want to continue to spread their own misinformation and disinformation, right? That's what it's all about. You know, it's like Hitler had a radio in every single house.
Right.
Trudeau wants a radio in every single house, right? It's the same script 80 years later, right? That's all it is. Same script.
Do you think it's working? Like with C11 and C18, those two bills trying to quash the news and trying to quash the media. Do you think it's working? Or do you think we're breaking out with issues like this?
I think it's actually doing the opposite. I think it's actually waking more people up, right? You know, communists aren't very smart, you know, they really aren't. And anybody who knows anything about history, right, knows that, you know, here we are 80 years later. World Economic Forum was formed shortly after they assassinated JFK, who was going to expose all this stuff, right? The World Economic Forum was formed. And, you know, here we are 80 years later, following the same script that they did in Germany, you know, in the 40s.
100%. And people are not listening to this because one of the steps is to take away the guns. And we're seeing that happen right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about that right now.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's the same script. And when you disarm your citizens, that means you are up to no good.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Because you're either going to come at
us. It has nothing, like crime is actually spiked announced,
Oh.
right? Crime has
Mhm.
actually spiked since they tried to take, guns away. So, guns always end up in the hands of the wrong people, always,
Correct.
right? It's not us, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we're also not a violent group at all. Like, to take the guns away from us, they either don't want us to defend ourselves from
Yeah,
maybe an attack from
yeah,
them, or
yeah,
they don't want us to have an offense against them. In either case, they're tackling both sides of this.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, if you know anything about history, if you know anything about communism, Marxism, fascism, it's the same script, right? It's the same script, right? Take away the media, take away the guns, and then, right? And
And
then
then confuse the youth as well.
yeah,
That's part of it.
100%. Well,
Confuse
that's
the youth.
That's classic Marxism, right? Is you hijack a minority, give them power, and then let them run with it, right? And and divisiveness, right? We are so divided as a country, and I know at Canadians for Truth, like we haven't had any any liberal people come on and debate us. Well,
Yeah, me
why?
too.
Why? Because they can't, right? They can no longer win on policy. They can no longer win elections. You know what I mean? So that they have, the only thing they can do is manipulate, coerce, lie, cheat, steal. That's their MO, right? That's all they have left. And that's what we're seeing, right? Inflation, you know, um, uh, we live in one of the most resource rich countries on the planet. And we just gave out 11 million food stamps, and the liberals were like they were partying. They were celebrating the simple fact that they gave out that. Like, that's ridiculous. That is insane.
That reminds me of Oliver, "Give me some more, sir. Give me some
Yeah.
more." So you give a little bit more porridge, and then you applaud yourself for that.
Yeah. It's the insanity of the left, right? It's the insanity of the left. And that's the only way they know how to do things, They hate work. They don't like to contribute to anything, right? They're very narcissistic. They are for themselves and themselves
Demanding.
only. Themselves only. And one of the special things about my experience of living in Alberta for the last almost 35 years is, and the reason why I chose to live in Alberta post hockey career was for the simple fact that Albertans are incredibly charitable,
They
right?
are.
Incredibly charitable. And, that has been my experience. Some of my best friends that I've met in life I acquired these people doing charity work in Calgary post career. All the amazing people who loan themselves to amazing causes and great charities and all this stuff. And as a member of the Calgary Flames alumni, that's what we're all about. We're all about giving back, right? Because without the fans buying tickets and buying jerseys and hockey cards and all these things, there is no us,
Right.
right? And so now, as a retired athlete, it's my turn to pay it forward for the people who paid it forward to me so that I could have this amazing career, amazing life, and all these things. And so everything always comes full circle. And one of the things when I got to Calgary was not only were you expected to be a great player for the organization, but you were also supposed to be a part of the community.
Right.
Right. And that's never changed, right? And this is no different, right? We're fighting for freedom, and we're fighting for all those values and morals that were instilled in us, and back in the early, or for me, the late '60s and early '70s and '80s. I was taught about hard work, and hard work would create success, right? And that no longer is the case in Canada. That
Right.
those core values and morals are being stripped away, almost on a daily basis.
It's a good way to put it, because we're not being taught, or at least this generation is not being taught, how to hard work yourself to success.
Yeah.
They're talking about how to demand it and take it more than hard work it.
Yeah. Well, it's the liberal way, right? That's the liberal way. I want to work the least amount of hours and make the maximum amount of money. That's never worked, right?
And then don't take it from them. They want to keep their money. Don't take it from them. Take it from someone else.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
it's sad. It's sad to see how this incredibly vast, beautiful, incredible, amazing country is in the state that we're in. Truly.
Well, let's start with Alberta, because no offense, but you're here because Danielle wouldn't respond to me. This was her day. And I was trying to book her on today. And I was getting frustrated with that. And I saw you talking about her. I'm like, look, do you want to take her spot? Because I need to talk to somebody about Alberta politics. And then you said, yes, sure, let's do that.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So what has Danielle done since she's gotten in? We want to keep this province freer, but are we headed that way?
I'm frustrated with her, because of some of the things she says. She panders to the left, unfortunately, apologizing for, meaningless things, I didn't appreciate the fact that, she talked about being carbon neutral in by 2050, and we all know if we take carbon out of the atmosphere, half of the population dies, we starve to death,
we need
all
more
these things, you know what I mean? So yeah, we actually need more. We're at significantly low levels of CO2 right now. So
That's right.
I didn't like her when she said that, and I endorsed her, and
Me too.
And she once told me a long time ago, I'm not going to be perfect. And when I make mistakes, I want you to call me out. I want you to hold me account. And so, I think that's what we need to do in Alberta, is to hold her to account when she, does dumb things, like saying we need to be carbon neutral by 2050, So
yeah. She worried me when she won the leadership and she came out to congratulate or kind of say thanks to Kenny. But she said, of the one programs that I liked about him, it was the ESG scores. And as soon as I heard her say that, I'm like, oh, does she not know what she just said? Is she just grabbing one of his accomplishments and patting him on the back? Like, does she know what she just said? Do you think she knows?
Well, I've come to learn the simple fact that, you cannot trust politicians at any point, right? There's been a lot of things that have happened in the last 4 years that indicate that not only in Ottawa, but I think provincial leaders, municipal leaders, school boards, everybody's in on this build back dumber, right? I call
Doug
it
Ford
build back.
just got on it too.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who are being used right now, right? Police, RCMP, school teachers, school administrators, right, are being used, right? Even our politicians are being used, right? It's kind of sad to see that people who should have integrity can be bought and paid for by whoever, right? By these lobbyists.
Do you think it's that simple? Do you think it's as simple as money, or?
Well, money is the root of all evil, right?
Yeah, that seems easy though. Like maybe it's pressure, maybe they found something more than money.
Well, I'm sure there's some blackmail in there too, right? So, but what a time to be alive. Like,
Mm.
like what a time to be alive. And, from a spiritual perspective, we all chose to be here at this time, right? And anybody who has faith, anybody who believes that there's something greater than ourselves running this show, the ultimate is, God wins.
Mm.
And that's the only thing that's kept me sane through this whole entire last 4 years, is, the simple fact that for the last almost 18 years, I've been on an incredible spiritual journey and path of spirituality and healing, and all these wonderful things that that I've been doing.
That's beautiful.
It's been amazing, right?
How long is that journey on?
What's that?
How long for that journey? When did you start that one?
Let's see. Well, I've been sober almost 18 years. In September, I'll have 18 years.
Congratulations, brother.
Yeah, thank you. But at the end of the day, it's one day at a time, right? That's all it is. And I've been able to string, a lot of one day at a times together. But more importantly, I've been able to use my story to help a lot of people come to the realization of their own traumatic experiences in life, and how that trauma is connected to their mental health issues, and how that trauma is connected to their addiction issues, and how to find a path of healing.
Congratulations.
And I really
brother.
believe that's the biggest reason why I'm awake, really, at the end of the day, is I was groomed by one of the most notorious pedophiles in Canada, and went through that experience, and then went through the experience of healing, and realized that a lot of the techniques that the government is using are the same techniques that pedophile abusers use against their victims, which is manipulation, coercion, lying, stealing, cheating, that's all a part of it, right? And nobody, we talk about systemic racism, we talk about systemic, but nobody talks about systemic government abuse, which has caused trauma in the last 4 years. Right? Because when you can't afford to eat and when you can't afford to pay your bills, guess what? That's trauma.
It's like a domestic trauma is the form of that, because it's coming from someone who's supposed to care for you, and you keep falling into that entire path over and over again.
Yeah.
And we have short memories too of the abuse as a whole.
Yeah.
It's very much.
And, I've spent a lot of time in the last 3 years doing shows like yours, talking about systemic government abuse. Because when you're traumatized, guess what? You can't critically think, because you're only surviving day to day, right? And, what did we see happen at the beginning of COVID? Well, we saw a spike in opioid addiction. Right. We saw a spike in mental illness. We saw a spike in suicidal ideation. And then ultimately, we saw people taking their own lives. Well, that's a direct result of a very traumatized society. And who is doing all the traumatizing? The government. Right?
And then they're providing you the service at the end too.
They are the abusers, right? And nobody talks about that. Or they say that I'm crazy. Yeah. Well, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's what they say. Yeah.
I already have the t-shirt, right? I've experienced it all. And I didn't spend the last 20 years of my life doing what I've done to heal myself, to be abused again. I was abused my whole entire life. And I made a promise to myself, about 15 years ago, that when I saw abuse, I was going to call it out. And that's all I've been doing for the last 4 years. That's it. and I've taken a lot of shit and abuse from, the left-wing lunatics. But anybody that knows anything about my professional hockey career, I was a villain. I was a shit disturber. I was, one of those guys. So, I'm used to, that kind of response, right? So that's why it doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me, and I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, because at the end of the day, the number one goal is depopulation depopulation agenda. That's their number one goal. And if you look at this whole situation through that lens, it all makes perfect sense.
100%. Yeah, because this vaccine did some damage to reproductive, did some damage to your lifespan. I don't even think we know the full damage yet until the next generation and their children, or attempt to have children, starts. I think that's when we're seeing it. Have you heard anybody talk about, at this stage yet, that vax and non-vax shouldn't try and procreate? Have you heard that yet?
I haven't heard anything about that yet. I think that over the last probably 6 months, I've seen a lot of discussion around helping people get rid of the spike proteins.
The detoxing,
right? Because ultimately that is the bioweapon. The spike protein is the bioweapon, right? And more and more I'm seeing ads, I'm seeing protocols, I'm seeing a lot of doctors talking about detoxification from everything, even what they're spraying in the air, and there's a lot of barium aluminum misting going on, which affects the blood-brain barrier. So there's a lot of people talking about detoxing the metals from your brain, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of really great information out there now helping people survive this this insanity which they're bringing forward.
No, it's a very serious issue, Theo. And on the 28th, I have Dr. Peter McCullough on for exactly that. We'll be talking about detox, vaccine detox. He's got some protocols. I also spoke to Dr. Makis on this issue. So there's a video in the past on that one. He actually says, he actually said one of the best things you can do is a 3-day fast, just water. Just do that. That's a good way to kickstart the repair.
Yeah, that's great. It's good information, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we need it. Look, I'm not vaccinated, but I have a lot of empathy for those who had to, or did, or chose to. Even the ones that ran to the vaccination line, I still have empathy for them as well.
Yeah,
they're miswired, but they're going to be harmed.
Absolutely. And from my own experience too, being manipulated and coerced, as an adolescent, I'm with you. I have a lot of compassion and empathy for those people who are now vax injured or who have lost loved ones from the vaccination. And I can't remember, it might have been a year and a half ago, somebody said to me, this will be all over when the vaxxed and the unvaxxed get together.
What does that mean? Like, in what way? Like, we just started
because we're so divided, right? We're so divided that, we need to come together as a society and as a community and heal that trauma from the last 4 years, right?
This may be that trauma, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's trauma. Those people who are vaccine injured, that's trauma. Those people who've lost people from the vaccine, that's trauma. That's very traumatizing. When you lose people, or you're having to deal with somebody who's severely injured, right?
Yeah, well, what about those mothers and aunts that said you can't come to Christmas unless you're vaxxed? People got vaxxed, and now some of them might get injured.
But you got to remember that they were misinformed by big
pharma, for sure,
but
the guilt they're going to carry is going to be harsh. We have to address that.
Yeah, but there's nothing you can do about it now, right? We didn't have a crystal ball.
No.
Right? And what I always tell people when I'm working with them is I say, like, you can't go back and change what happened to you, but you can certainly change the future, and you can certainly change your path today.
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's important that, we get fixated on the past, right? We get fixated on the past and all the mistakes we made and all that guilt and all that um, uh, resentment, right? That's the stuff that kills us. That's
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that gets into our cellular structure, gets stored in the body, and then here we are on a day-to-day basis getting triggered by absolutely everything. We don't even know what the trigger is about. Well, that's past traumas that we carry with us that gets played out in our, in our daily lives. And so it's important to, go on this journey of healing. Find some sort of spirituality, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing, that's the biggest reason why I'm still here and I'm still alive today, is because I went on a spiritual journey. I'm not talking religion.
Sure.
I'm talking about spirituality. I'm talking about having a relationship with myself for the first time in my life, right? Because after my abuser left my life, what do you think happened? I took over the abuse and I abused myself because I didn't think I
Right.
deserved anything better. And most of the people who walk around on this planet feel the same way, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable, right? So,
You're not wrong, brother. And
and
people feel that way, and their government's telling them that too. They're even telling you because you're
yeah,
white, because
that
you're
they're
this.
using it. The government is using that. It's like, well, we're in a psychological and spiritual war, right? So if I don't work on my psychology and if I don't work on my spiritual stuff, then yeah, I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to be living in fear. I'm going to have no hope, right? That's what they want. That's what they want.
And then when the government gives you the boogeyman to point your problems to, you start to hate them and actually want them gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is how they're dividing us. Now,
Yeah.
how do we how do we combat that? Because it won't be our public healthcare system that helps the mental health. That's not a very good system for that.
Yeah.
So how do we build that support? Is it more community based, more neighbor to
Yeah.
neighbor type of stuff?
Yeah. Like I've known to mankind, right? Done 10,000 hours of therapy. And the most cheapest, most effective kind of therapy that I've come across is a little thing called group therapy, where you get a bunch of people in a room who all have some sort of issues or unresolved issues. And you use vulnerability, which is storytelling. So telling your own story.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates safety. And then once you have safety in the room, that's when the magic of healing happens, is when people relate to each other's stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a perfect example was, in 2009, I wrote this book called Playing with Fire, where, I just took a leap of faith. I said, you know what? If I don't get this shit off my chest, I'm probably going to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. And so I told this story in front of the world. And what happened was I found my tribe of people, right?
Good.
Everywhere I went on the book tour, I was getting 5, 10, 15, 20 people coming up at every book signing saying, hey, man, you told my story. Me too. Right. And we created this community of people, right? Because, we have a saying in 12 step, you're only as sick as your secrets.
Oh, wow.
Well, guess what? For 27 years, I kept this secret inside. And guess what? I was sick physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then once I told the story, it was no longer a secret. Right.
Mm-hmm. You owned it.
And then, I started attracting all of these people who wanted the same thing that I had, which was, a little bit of peace, a little bit of joy, a little bit of serenity, which is the ultimate goal in the healing process is that peace, joy, happiness, and serenity. That's where we're all trying to get to. right?
It sounds like you're there, the way you speak and the way you have a calm in your voice.
Yeah, because, I just don't care anymore. I don't care what people think about me. I know where I've been. I know what I've overcome. I know where I'm going. I know what's in my heart, and people talk about the Garden of Eden, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's actually in heaven, but we're actually living in the Garden of Eden. But we have a bunch of really bad people right now who have taken the Garden of Eden and turned it into this insane place. And so if we can overcome all of the corruption and all of the evil, we'll be living in the greatest time of human history.
Well, it sounds like you've actually found yours because you have this common piece. Now, you know that there's a lot out there, but
Yeah.
your common piece is there.
Yeah, I don't let it affect me anymore, right? I don't let the abusers and the corrupt affect me anymore, because ultimately, if things don't work out here, I know that I'm going to a way better place.
Gotcha.
But in the meantime, I'm going to do everything within my power to create heaven on earth. Right?
That's beautiful. Is there a way that you can scale this thinking and help train people to take this back to their communities as well? Is there a way for you to become of a coach to a lot of people so we can
Yeah,
scale
well,
this?
what do you think I've been doing for the last 15 years? Is I've been
Yeah.
speaking tons and doing workshops, and I'm actually working with a company right now to roll out a program, mental wellness program on the net. So
Perfect. That's what I was about to ask.
hopefully that'll be out in the next little while. But I do coach people, one-on-one coaching. You can go to my website.
You sign up
And
for that there, yeah.
yeah, you can go to info@theofleury.life and say, hey, I'm interested in some coaching sessions, and you can reach out to me through that. My specialty and my secret sauce is one-on-one. Like, I can really get people to move, when I'm coaching them one-on-one.
Well, we need to get to the children, right? So that's where the indoctrination is happening right now,
Yeah.
and they're kind
But
of
we got to
winning that
fix the
war right now.
adults first. Right?
The
We got to
parents.
fix the adults first before we tackle the kids, because it's the traumatized adults who are traumatizing the kids. Right?
So the parents are just adults in general.
Just adults in general, right? I look at all these people that have access to our kids, and they are mentally not well.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're not mentally not well, our kids are not going to be mentally well, right? It's sort of that trickle down effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the leader, Justin Trudeau, he's not well, right? He's not well. He's very damaged individual who has not faced any of his past trauma, right? You look at his father was a communist, and he hung around with communists. So what do you think Justin is going to turn out to be?
So you believe before he went into office, he was pretty damaged?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I grew up with a depressed mom that caused me a lot of problems in adult. Well, what was Margaret's diagnosis? Depression,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that affects everything. So
And he was probably recruited pretty early with the Global Leaders Program and identified pretty early, and had to go through a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he was ready to go. You say when he ran into office, he was ready to kind of mess us up. He was already
They groomed him, right? Just like he's now grooming society, right? You know, people are saying, you know, they're grooming the kids. No, they're grooming you first. They're grooming, like the last thing that happens in this type of scenario is kids get sexually abused or physically abused or emotionally abused, spiritually abused. They have to groom the adults first.
To allow that to happen, right?
And that's what's been going on. They've been grooming the adults, right? You know, like I watch these drag shows and I see moms who bring their kids there. And I'm like, what's the benefit? Like, what's the benefit from doing this? Well, I would say those parents are looking for somewhere to belong. Like, we all need to belong somewhere. Right?
They're looking for their tribe.
Yeah, they're looking for their tribe. But, you know, that's the wrong place to be looking to find your tribe, right? Well, what was one of the first things they did at the beginning of COVID? Shut down the churches, and they closed every arena in Canada.
Yep, and gym.
And why does every small town in Canada have an arena? Well, that's the center of community, right? So you're either a part of that crowd or you're part of the church, right? And church is about community, right? It's not so much about religion. It's more about community, right? If I go to church on Sunday, I see mostly the same people, right?
Yep,
and,
people that care about you and want to see you, that type of thing.
Right, right. So, yeah, they went after that almost immediately because they knew it was going to mess us up, right?
But they kept the liquor stores and the cannabis stores open.
Of course they did. Because they knew that that's how people cope when they get freaked out. And people don't.
And then they locked us together, which caused domestic violence to go up and other things.
And people who don't have spiritual connection are going to gravitate towards addictive behavior as a coping mechanism to suppress the emotional pain and suffering that they're experiencing. And at the beginning of COVID, we were all freaking out about, because we didn't know. We had no idea what this virus was going to do. Right? So they locked us in our houses. And, you know, as a person who suffers from, you know, depression and anxiety, where's the worst place I can be as a person who has depression and anxiety?
Alone by yourself.
Inside of my own head. Right? And if I don't have community, what am I going to do? I'm going to internalize everything. I'm going to start, you know, that hamster wheel from just going crazy. And that's what happened to me at the beginning of COVID, is I fell into a depression. And I had no idea what this depression was all about. Well, it was about reliving all of my abuse again. Right? And so when I figured that out, I started doing a lot of podcasts because that's all I could do. I couldn't travel, I couldn't speak, nothing. And so I started to explain what my depression was all about. And people were like, oh my God, I'm feeling the same way. And I also have a very traumatic history in my past. So thank you for explaining to me my latest episode of depression and anxiety. Right?
Yeah. Are you seeing the same indicators for addiction to government dependency? So depending on your government, is that something you could become addicted to?
100%. Right?
And when they take some of it away, give it back, control you that way.
That's classic abuser, classic narcissistic behavior, right? And so if you're already in a narcissistic relationship, the government comes in with their narcissistic, and it just feels comfortable, right? So, and these guys knew this. The World Economic Forum formed in 1971. They knew about psychology. They knew about psychology. And that's all they're doing. They're just playing out their, psychotic agenda.
Now, big tech's got busted for that. So they've been busted for playing around people's timeline, injecting negativity to see what would happen. Would they stay longer? Would they leave? So there's a lot of psychological things happening in big tech for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
I assure you that also plays a role as well.
Yeah. And, for 157 years, have had a somewhat relatively free democracy. Okay.
At least perceived to be free.
Perceived, yes, perceived. And we've never experienced a communist takeover in the Western world. So we have no idea what it looks like, what it tastes like, and what it feels like. But if you see what's happening in France and Belgium and all these countries, they know exactly what it looks like. And what happens when that happens? People are out on the street going, "No, we're not going for this. We're not falling for this." But in Canada and the United States, we've never experienced a communist takeover.
Right. Yet. We may be in the middle of it right now.
Well,
We just don't recognize it.
Yeah. But we're right in the middle of it. You're right. But we don't recognize it. We have no idea. Because people still have the attitude that, oh, that'll never happen in Canada. That'll never happen in the United States. Well, it's happening. Because you don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that there's one side who also doesn't know what it looks like, but they're blaming everything. They're saying that's commie, but it's not. It's not. What you're actually talking about is democracy. You're actually talking about people wanting to get things done. But everything's Nazi, everything's commie, so now almost nothing is anymore.
Yeah.
You should know this, and I'm sorry for going here a little bit, but when you're stuck under an abuser, they don't necessarily start backing off and making things easier on you at any point. You get used to it, then they get harder on you, harder and harder. So we're seeing things like political prisoners here in Alberta, and I think that's a huge message to a lot of Canadians that, look, this government will get hard on you. We're at 520 days, Theo, that these gentlemen have been locked away. No trial, no bail. That's quite the message to Canadians, don't you think?
Yeah. Like, if you follow the timeline of when they declared COVID until now, it's getting more and more, But what they do is they take away, then they give it back. They take it away, give it back. Take it away, give it back. And so,
freeze your bank accounts, unfreeze them.
Yeah.
Threaten to freeze them again.
Yeah. To think that we have political prisoners in Canada in 2023 should be incredibly alarming to you. Because if they can do it to those people, they can do it to absolutely all of us.
Yes. And that's what the other side's not understanding, or they're just blatantly ignoring it. That, look, today it's us that you guys are putting in jail, but tomorrow it could be you. And what kind of system do you want? Do you want one that is innocent until proven guilty, or we can put you away for 30 months without explaining it? Which one do you want?
Yeah.
And of course, they will be on our side all of a sudden. But it's so weird that intelligent people seem to have been dropped. Like, common sense is not common. The House of Commons is not full of commons. Like, we don't have common anymore.
No.
So what do you think about that? Like, we keep putting the same two parties in power. Nobody else gets to say. We have a power with a corrupt party.
I believe that there are no more fair elections anywhere on the planet.
That far, okay.
Yeah. Well, because Klaus Schwab said, my people don't lose elections. And he just came out with a statement that by 2025, there'll be no more elections.
I missed that one. Please fill me in.
Yeah, he said it. Klaus Schwab said by 2025 there'll be no more elections because we'll have complete and full control and power, right? Which is global communism, one world government, right?
I'm looking at the date. I think he's
people still
optimistic.
think that is a conspiracy theorist, like theory.
No, I listen to every word that man says because he's not
Yeah.
lying. He's telling you what he's doing.
Mhm.
He wrote a book, a couple books actually.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. I believe that we have an illegitimate government in Canada right now because Trudeau wasn't elected in 19 or 21. And the reason why they're trying to hide all the Chinese stuff is because it's going to expose that, right?
Now, what do you think that interference was?
Government is now passing illegitimate laws, which is what? Communism 101.
Yep. And doing things without even the legislation. Do you think this Chinese interference was to help Trudeau, or is it possible that this Chinese interference was exposing the WEF messing around with our elections? Is there a possibility that
I think China and WEF are in bed with each other, right?
you think so?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because China already has communism. They already have digital IDs. They already have facial recognition.
The pilot country.
They're the leaders in that, right?
Is it possible it's China that's funding WEF and Klaus, giving them lots of support there?
Would be, logical to believe that, right? So
it's just as logical as the lab, right? Stupid market.
Yeah. But I really believe that is all a bunch of bullshit too. The Wuhan thing. I think they just rebranded the flu to get people to take the bioweapon.
Well, that's what Macca says. So Macca says that I was actually going around in 2019 and 18. So the actual COVID was around in those years as well. It's a pretty good speech he gave on Saturday. There's a link on my YouTube for that. No, not on YouTube. It's on Rumble because it's Macca's. You can't get Macca's on YouTube. Right. It's on my Rumble. And yeah, it was a pretty deep speech because he also identified 100 young sudden deaths for young people in a 3-month span. Athletes, people that are getting out there playing hockey and all this kind of stuff. You must be hearing that. The UK just bragged just a week or so ago that they just finished putting 6,000 defibrillators into the school system, high schools and younger. They're happy. They're like, congratulations, we did it. We got 6,000 into the schools. You're now safer. Yeah. But where's the headline on why do you have to do that all of a sudden? Yeah, in your world, myocarditis.
If you just think with your common sense brain, all the truth is out there, right? And at the beginning, they could stay ahead of the truth, right? But now they can't stay ahead of the truth. Like the truth is all out there, right? Because did you ever think, Jason, that you would be a podcaster talking about this stuff?
Nope.
Exactly.
It was not something I tried to do. I had to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have some sort of common sense where you're like, you know what? No, this isn't right. This is wrong. And I'm going to take a stand. And I don't care how much backlash and bullshit I get. Yeah. I'm going to leave this planet going, I did everything within my power to change the course of where we're headed. That's it.
Yeah, and that might be naive and it might be a mistake for me, like professionally or for my personal life. Like I had to give up my entire private life to do this. Yeah. So there may be some consequences, but I don't feel like I made the wrong choice at all. I feel like we're making some steps forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all of us who are standing in truth are doing it for the absolute right reasons, right?
Yeah,
we want to save humanity, right? Because, like I said, their number one goal is to depopulate the planet, right? and everything that they've done in the last 4 years. Well, what's the only thing that comes out of communism?
That seems like a trick question, but pain and suffering.
Mass death.
Okay, that's right. So Stalin had millions. Each of them have
Mao,
millions.
millions die under communism. That's the only thing that communism spits out is mass death. And we're already seeing it, right? We're already seeing it.
And those would be the people that have a heavy reliance on government in some capacity to take care of them. And then the government just turns their back and, well, you're in trouble now.
Yep.
Or government tells you I can't afford it, or we're fighting a war, or we all have to suffer. But they'll give you reasons why they can't feed you anymore.
So when you think about it, the government knows that people are severely injured and there is death happening, and not one politician has said anything about it. What does that tell you? What does that
the
tell you?
wannabe politicians are doing it. So the ones that want to be politicians are doing it because this is the truth.
But the people who are actually in positions of power and authority have not said one word about vax injured or vax deaths. Not one of the 338 people who were voted in and work for us have not said one word. That should tell you absolutely everything. About our government. Everything. And that should make you angry and pissed right off that these
100%.
people do not care about human life. That your life doesn't matter to them one iota.
So if elections are no good, and you believe that, what do we do? How can we make some of these changes? Well, and how much can we put up with before we say no more?
Well, non-compliance, right? They respond to non-compliance, right? Because where would we be if the truckers didn't head to Ottawa? We would be in full lockdowns. 15-minute cities would already be happening if that didn't happen. So non-compliance, like they're already doing their fall spike protein campaign.
Yep. Yeah, it came out. They have a new and improved formula, by the way, they said. New and improved.
Oh, yeah. It's even deadlier than the last one.
Yeah, we didn't kill you fast enough. New and improved.
So
and you guys got too smart.
Non-compliance.
Yep.
The government, I've said this many times. As a citizen of Canada, I have 3 main responsibilities. Pay my taxes, vote, and stay out of jail. Other than that, I do not need the government involved in my life at all. I am very capable of looking after myself, looking after my family, and then when I take care of all that, then I'm going to provide and do work for people who are less fortunate.
That's right. You have to build your house first, and you can help others.
That's it. Right?
Well, that's the whole community fabric you just described there.
Yeah. But,
but you're far right racist for saying that.
Sure. Okay.
It's incredible, like having family values.
I said I've been right so far. Right? I'm not far right. I've been right so far. Right?
Well, let's take that and own it. Let's own that.
Yeah.
Do you think Alberta is going to be the last stand, or do you think Alberta is going to be the one that helps replicate to other provinces? What do you think is going to end up happening here? Because we're under attack by the WF on the healthcare system.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
They partnered up here.
Yeah, like we have 9 trillion barrels of oil in Fort McMurray. And they want to shut that down? Well, then how the hell are we gonna generate any type of economy if our oil and gas sector is gone? Pixie dust? Rainbows? Unicorn farts? No. Right? Like this whole climate thing is like it's such a joke. It's such a joke.
Well, Greta was wrong, right? Her tweet just got deleted after 5 years because
like
nothing happened.
the planet was supposed to be over. Like what, 3 weeks ago, a month ago? Like that was it.
I guess you're right. We're still in the Garden of Eden then, because we're all dead and we're in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're still here. Yeah. Well, we're what do they say? We're wearing skin suits, living a spiritual experience. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
but
I had Greg Arcade said that on Friday that we're skinwalkers or something like that, where we're wearing the skin.
yeah.
You familiar with that? Is that what you're talking
Oh
about?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
Yeah,
You know who he is?
I believe in all that stuff. It's what gives me hope, right? Gives me hope that whatever they do is whatever they do, right? I'm gonna try and make the best of it while I'm here. Be a good person, be a good human, right? Do all I can to, wake people up. And at the end of the day, if God so sees fit that he needs me elsewhere, then that's where I'll go.
You'll be missed. You'll be missed.
Yeah,
Now
but
you
I'll
are
still
in a
be around. I'll still be around, right?
yeah, I think your legacy will be around for quite a while.
Yeah.
I think so. You could, if you wanted to, just say, "Hey, world, have a good one. Catch you later," and then really just check out and really just focus on enjoying yourself and not being under attack and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. But yet you've chosen to stay in the limelight, and not limelight. This is actually not a limelight. This is the spotlight,
Yeah.
and still take on these battles. Why are you doing that? Why are you driven to continue to help us when you don't have to?
Well,
It's a genuine question because there's so many people who
yeah.
don't.
So on my spiritual journey of the last 15, 18, 20 years, I've delved into some past life stuff.
Cool.
And this is very familiar theme to every existence I've had. Every skin suit I've worn, I've been in some sort of war, fight, whatever it is. So, that's why I call myself the Patriot Warrior, because I've always been a warrior. No matter, what past life I had, I was always involved in some sort of tyrannical, fighting against tyranny, right?
Right.
So, but and I always tell people, this is the last fucking thing I want to be doing in my life.
Exactly. Like you don't
I've
have
had,
to. You can go golf
I've
and
had,
hang out.
I've had two very successful careers. One as a professional athlete, and one as an author and a speaker. And I would love no more to be, enjoying my kids, my relationship with my wife, just non-combative, just enjoying life, and but like I said, I made a promise to myself about 15 years ago that if I saw abuse, I was going to call it out. And that's all I've been doing. That's all I've been doing, and I understand that that's not a popular stance, but guess what? For 27 years of my life, I wasn't standing in my truth.
Right.
I was hiding a secret. And that secret almost ended my life. And so now, whether I'm right or wrong, the simple fact that I'm standing in my truth gives me peace, serenity, some joy, some happiness. So I'm going to go with that, right?
That's beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people out there who, are not standing in their truth. They're afraid to stand in their truth. But I can tell you that besides my sobriety, despite getting sober, it's probably the most incredible thing that I've ever done in my life was to stand in my truth. Because it's so empowering. It really is. It's very empowering when you stand in your truth and you don't listen to the noise. Right?
Can you talk to somebody who's debating and having difficulties standing in their truth, and maybe give them a little advice on how to take a next step or a first step?
Well, I always say this: they want us dead. So I have nothing to lose. I have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Right? They want us dead, which means I have nothing to lose. But if I don't die and we come out of this and we have, we're living in this incredible, abundant, amazing place, then I have everything to gain, right? Because I want to live till I'm fucking 200 years old. And I know that we can do that we have the capability to do that. But we need to get rid of these evil bastards. And unfortunately, that's conflict and that's fight, right? And
I'm trying.
Go ahead.
No, you. Sorry about that. Cool. And
so why not, right? You got nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? Your kids' future depends on you standing in your truth. And, it's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning. It was uncomfortable for me at the beginning, standing in my truth. But all I did was I kept pushing back against their narrative. I didn't let them cancel me. I didn't let them silence me. I went back at them twice as hard with facts and truth, And when you do that, they back away because they're cowards. Communists are cowards. They're cowards. That's why they got to use fuckery.
Exactly, manipulation and other things.
Gain control, right? So, yeah.
Well, they got in control by taking over our school boards, taking over our schools, getting in as elected officials, getting into the cities.
Sneaky fuckers,
Well, yeah, they created that diversity, equity, inclusion position, and then every company had one, and that was the cancer cell. That was the first part of all of that.
Yeah.
How do we get that out? Like the NHL kind of got bit by that for a little bit there and had some pride nights and other things, and then kind of pulled back, took some of the hits and punches, which hockey players can do, and starting to bounce back from that. So first, what was your take when they kind of started to go down that road?
Well,
now, how do you feel as they're getting out of it?
There's no place in sports for politics. Politics should not be involved in sports at any level, right? Sports is used as an escape and a distraction from what's going on in our normal lives. It gives us joy, to cheer for a team or, to kind of just zone out, every once in a while. But no, they had to get involved in this woke friggin' culture, which is, woke is actually Marxism, the same thing. But you can't use Marxism because then people be like, no, I'm not going to be a part of that. Right. So it's amazing how they change words, right? They're very good at changing words, phrases, all this stuff. So yeah, I just think critically, do your homework. The truth is all out there. Don't listen to the left. They're insane. They're crazy. They've lost the narrative. They've lost their minds. They have tunnel vision, right? Because they have one goal. They have one goal, and it's
depopulation.
They've lost all sense of, what it's like to be an actual human being that lives on this planet, right? What do you bring to the table? What do you contribute? What are you going to leave behind? You're going to leave behind the legacy of what? 7.5 billion people are dead. That's your legacy, right?
I don't understand it at all. I understand what they're doing, but I don't understand the why.
Yeah, it's just it's like a really bad movie with really bad writers, bad actors. It's what it is. But, in the times when you're living in those fearful, anxiety, depressive moments is when you lean on, your spiritual being, right? Because faith gives you hope, right? And when you have hope, it's like, bring it on, right? Or, God only gives us as much as we can handle.
Correct. I believe that.
Okay. So we've all experienced trauma in our life in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't have to be as extreme as mine, but
right.
we all experience trauma. And how I see my trauma now is my trauma is my superpower. Okay, because adversity creates what? Resilience.
That's right.
And when you have resilience, you're like, bring it on.
Bring it.
I'll
That's your thick skin.
I'll figure it out. And so what the other side doesn't know right now is they've given us extreme adversity. The last 4 years have been extreme
good way
adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that going to create? That's going to create a resilience that I don't think they even have any idea what that resilience is going to do. That resilience is going to take them down at the end of the day.
There's two things I think it will do, actually. I think it will take them down and expose them, but it's also going to save them because these vaccine injured people that are lost are going to be brought back by the strong who took all of that for so many years. We are resilient, so we're able to hold it up for them. Yep. So we'll be able to help them when the time is right for them. And that could be God's plan. That could be why he put us through this, to toughen us up for that next phase.
Yeah, where the lost we were getting soft. He saw we were getting soft. And he's like, no. I'm going to give you some adversity here.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we can handle.
Yep.
Yeah, we can handle and pick up our neighbors that are injured and help them now.
So when you look at adversity, don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as a gift. It is truly a gift. It's been such a gift in my life, that adversity, because it built resilience, right? And now I know that I can get through absolutely anything that's thrown my way.
And did you find as being an athlete?
I don't think I could have said that,
18 years ago?
20 years ago? I don't think I could have said that 20 years ago. I think I would have folded like a cheap lawn chair. But because I chose first and foremost to get sober and not go back to all of my old coping mechanisms,
right,
pushed me towards healing and understanding and self-love and all these wonderful things,
self-dependence,
having a relationship with myself, actually talking about feelings of sadness and anger and resentment and all these things. I didn't have to carry them around for very long because I knew that if I talked about them, that's the release, right? I'm telling on myself.
Holding yourself accountable.
Yeah. Right.
And not being afraid of that.
Yeah. And all we're trying to do is we're just trying to hold people to accountability. That's it. We're holding our government to accountability, but they don't want any part. Narcissists don't want any part of accountability.
Yeah, I got a good plan there.
Right? They don't want any part of being held to account. They hate accountability. That's why they won't come to the debate table, because they know they're going to get pummeled.
Right. And they don't expect accountability, but they'll cancel you. So they don't even have it in their wiring to hold you accountable. They'll just cancel you. They just want you gone.
Yeah.
And maybe you have a good idea there. If we work on the adults and make them more accountable as self-beings, they're going to hold their government and their neighbors and others more accountable because they believe in it then.
Yes. Yes. That's why, I've been doing what I've been doing for, is letting people know that, yeah, I wasn't a very good person for a long time, right? I was corrupted by the system that I was in, right? The money, the fame, the fortune, it corrupted me. And not only did it corrupt me, it corrupted every single person who was around me.
Right. Did you have
Right?
enablers in that time?
Yeah, of
And is that the kind of
course.
corruption you're talking about?
Yeah,
People are just giving you?
yeah. But because I was living in my trauma still, you just generally sort of gravitate towards that type of behavior, right?
Well, they're providing coping for you.
Yeah. And then, all the enablers were gone, right? Because I made them sick by my own behavior. I made the enablers sick. So then I was left to my own defenses. And what
That's a
happened?
good way to do it.
And what happened? I hit rock bottom because I had a gun in my mouth.
Oh, sorry, Theo.
Right? Because I got to the point where I could no longer manage my own life. And I was having a pity party and all this bullshit. But ultimately, what happened, I couldn't pull the trigger.
Thank God.
Which meant I wanted to live.
That's right.
But guess what? I have no idea how to live life on life's terms. All I know how to do is cope. That's it. And I use drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, sex, work, right? All these addictions to suppress all the sadness, all the anger, all the resentment I had from experiencing my parents and experiencing my abuser. But then I had to flip that all around and go, you know what? Those people were teaching me about adversity so that I could get to resilience.
Well, God was through them. I don't know if they knew what they were doing.
Exactly. Right. And from rock bottom, I built this amazing life. But I had to get to rock bottom first to realize, holy shit, like how the hell did I get here? Right? How the hell did, this successful hockey player, professional guy end up with a gun in his mouth? Right? But I had to go through the exercise. It was part of my plan and my journey.
Well, thank you for sharing that part of your plan, or not your plan, but your journey, so that other people can understand that.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I share it is because I know that many people feel the same way that I do, but they just don't have a platform or they don't feel safe enough to talk about it. But I do, because I've been doing it for, forever. Seems like forever. I've been telling this story, right? But I have no shame anymore. I have no shame, no guilt, no anger, no resentment, because I had to work on those things.
It's beautiful, man. It really is beautiful. Now, are you going to expand this more? Are you kind of where you're at with this program? You're talking about doing some online stuff. Like, I'm really excited about more people hearing about your program and working it. So you're getting stuff online for them to do this from home and stuff?
Yeah, it's been really hard for me to find the right company that, has the same values, morals, principles, all this stuff, that actually care about people healing. Right? So,
on the tech side, or what are you needing?
Just the vehicle that I can reach as many people as possible on a daily basis, because at the beginning of your journey, like, you need support, like big time. Like, you can't do this on your own. Like, I tried it on my own. I failed miserably every time. Right. And, September 17th of 2005, I hit my knees in a washroom and I surrendered. and I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand them.
Beautiful.
And ever since I did that, I stopped fucking driving the bus. And I sit in the passenger seat and I don't question anything. Right? And that's how I see this whole last 4 years is God was preparing me for this battle. And he gave me all that shit at the beginning of my life to get to here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the pain. I'm grateful for the suffering. I'm grateful for all of those lessons. Because without them, I don't think I'd be here.
Well, I'm glad you are, and you can share those lessons with us too, so we can learn it as
for
well.
Sure. And you know,
well,
I realize that everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And you know, God gave us 2 ears to listen to those stories. And not give anecdotes, don't give advice. Just fucking sit there, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth and just listen. That's it. Right? Because you know, when people come up to me at events, hang on one second, I'm just getting a call from Laura.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah. If it's her, you got to go. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hello, is this Theo?
Yes.
Hi, this is Alex with the Anger Mangle. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
We're doing good. We're trying to get you your FaceTime up for Fox for our show. Are you getting the request?
Hang on. I gotta hang on.
Sorry,
you can drop. You can drop Theo and come back later.
Hang on a second.
Can you hear me? You're breaking up.
Okay. Are you calling me on FaceTime?
It's whatever was set up. I don't know if it's FaceTime or Skype.
Yeah, it's FaceTime.
The VCC link that they sent you?
Yeah, nobody's called me on FaceTime, and you were supposed to do it on FaceTime.
I didn't mean to say it was FaceTime. It's whatever. Yeah, whatever the link they sent you is what it should be. I just was speculating.
Okay. Well, I'm here. I'm waiting by the phone, and nothing's happened. So.
Hi, Theo. It's not. There should be a link, a VCC link that we sent you.
Okay, but when I did the check-in with the guy, we went through the whole thing. We used FaceTime.
Okay, all right. So maybe we should FaceTime. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Stay where you are.
Okay.
Stand by.
All right.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, I'll come back as soon as I'm done. Is that okay? I'll just
Sure. I'm gonna go look for it. I'm gonna try and stream it. Yeah.
Okay.
You can come right back to the same link.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome, brother.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Theo. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
Yep.
Cheers.
Go. Have fun. All right. I'm gonna bring Kevin on. Hey, Kevin, bud, how you doing? You're my backup, Theo. I'm actually gonna go look for that stream. Do you have the Fox stream?
No, I do not. But give me a second.
I know she's on right now. Yeah, she's got 35 minutes left, so he's gonna be live.
Laura Ingram.
Yeah, because it'd be great to actually see him pop on that show and then come back to our show. Hey, you guys in the chat, do you want to see that? You want to see Theo on Fox and then him come back? Fox streaming. We're both going to work on this here.
Yeah, the Ingram angle. Watch live on Fox News. Yeah, so I got it. I don't know if it's going to stream or not, but there's a link.
Well, click your link. If it streams on your side, you can add.
Choose your provider. Oh, you need. Oh, they're so gay. You have to be. You have to be subscribed to a U.S. cable company.
Yeah,
that's
some
what
people
happens.
Stream it.
Yeah, that's what it said. That's brutal. You have to log in.
If anybody has that, send a link to us. We're going to see if we can find it. We only need a few minutes because it's not going to be too long.
It might be on YouTube, YouTube Live, YouTube TV. I don't want to try this for free. Like, oh my god.
Does she stream on Twitter? I don't know. Good question. Does she stream on Twitter?
It doesn't look like it. With the little time that I have to be able to actually get that stream, I don't really want to sign up for stupid
No, of course not.
YouTube TV. Oh, and you can't even do it because I'm outside of the United States. So it looks like they, Justin to the rescue again, saved us from having to listen to Laura Ingraham with his Beast 11.
Yeah, I'm finding nothing live. I'm sure
Everything
we can get it later.
Everything I clicked on for live, it said you had to be either part of the U.S., living in the U.S., or subscribe to like a U.S. cable or satellite company.
Sometimes there's people that illegally stream, but I'm not going to click those links. Ingram Angle. Look at us. This we're hunting them down. We're like stalkers all of a sudden. What's this?
I'm sure when he comes back on, he'll tell us all about it.
I'm sure he will. On air live. Watch now. Ingram. Push a button. Come on. Are we getting close? No, it wants us to log in. All right. Well, no news. So let's just talk about the interview so far. You've been listening in the background. You've been talking about trauma, talking about recovering from it, talking about making something out of your life with that. How do you think that conversation is going?
Well, I left a few comments along the way. One thing that I made me think about when he was talking about like the trauma, right, was that was and coming together and like healing, right? He talked about like a group therapy, right? Was one of the things that he said really benefited. And then the first thing that came to mind was like, if we look at it as a whole, like the entire country, the group therapy process was like, the Freedom Convoy, right? It was, something where, people from all across the country was able to, get behind, rally behind, share stories. And, that's one of the things that he was saying, talking about your trauma and talking about it with like-minded individuals, to start the healing process. And, that's what, this movement did. People were coming together, they were laughing, having a good time, and they were really trying to get on with their lives and, and heal. And of course the government, could not have that. So, that's why they ended that real quick with the full force of their boot, right? So, because, if they've been working so hard at spreading, division and creating all these, decisive policies, the last thing that they want to see have done is the opposite with unity and inclusion, right? So no, they did not allow that to happen. So, that's one of the things that that came to mind. And then he talked about, what we talked about too, him, in the oil patch, and the amount of wealth that Alberta has in oil sitting in the ground, and you talked about like Daniel Smith's, carbon zero 2050. Being absolutely lunacy, and trying to systematically destroy the oil and gas sector. And
I got it. Hold on. I got
okay.
it. He's about to come on. She's talking about him right now. So we have a commercial, because she just went to commercial break saying taking off the Canadian Prime Minister. So I think we got it. So keep going.
So like the what they want to systematically destroy the the oil sector. Just take a look at Venezuela. What happened there? We did an extensive talk about the relationships and the similarities between those two countries. Right? It's just giving us a view 20 years into the future, kind of like a window. If we continue going on this path. Which I honestly think at this point in time, and no, he's right that he said that all elections are fraudulent, and I think they've always have been to an extent, right? Like you can even go online and type in U.S. election fraud in foreign countries, and there's credible links all across the internet about how the U.S. has been meddling in the elections of everybody else for a very long time. So if they're doing it, then it's a fair conclusion to say that most influential countries are doing it, like China, which is why they influenced our election, and it's not just us, right? They're influencing as many elections as America is. So you have influence and counter-influence, right? So, it's these countries that are all playing war with each other through, the election process to make sure that their idea of the best candidate gets in. And, whoever pours in the most money into those ballot boxes through donations, political support, ends up becoming the next prime selected minister. The person who was selected by, a foreign influence to put in power to best serve their needs. Because, having Canada as subservient to China is very beneficial to China, right? Because we have a huge natural resources, which China is an industrial country. They produce a lot of the world's goods, right? Which, we caused a lot of that through, industrialization and drove companies to do business with China. So like we are the cause of our own demise in that regard as well. But it really serves China's best interest to have this. And, they don't really take over a country through warfare, right? Through, shooting and bombing and killing people. They do it subvertly. Like they go through, the subversive tactics and they'll take over your companies. They'll take over your businesses and they'll take over, your real estate markets and, all the things that we're seeing. And it's nothing against, like when we talk about countries, if we're talking about Russia, if we're talking about Ukraine, if we're talking about America, Canada, or, China, it's never about the actual people of those countries, right? Because they don't really have any control. So we're never really, bashing the people of those countries. When we talk about these countries, or at least me, I talk about their governments, right? So, because I don't really see that, the average person in China, how, it would be beneficial for, them to control Canada. But when you're talking about like a government and, that sort of sense, then yes, it makes a lot more sense that way.
You said a lot there, and I'm watching a gold coin. I'm wondering, how do we get our hands on that? But look,
I just went on a rant.
For this. No, it's cool, but I'm listening to your rant and also paying attention to the stream.
That gold coin is about $2,500 Canadian.
That's an ounce.
If it's an ounce, that's probably not an ounce.
It's probably just plated too.
Well, the one that they have circled, the big one, but the small one is probably like a quarter ounce. Yeah, see, 1822. But then that's US dollars, and then there's spot premiums on top of that, so it's going to cost you $2,500 Canadian to buy that 1 ounce gold buffalo.
It's kind of neat how we heard the behind the scenes. So they use FaceTime to connect the people to the show and stuff.
I have no idea.
That's what we just heard. As negotiating and talking with them.
So this is just the commercial leading up into her show.
Yeah, she just went on to commercial. So I heard her say political, not prisoners, Trudeau, and then she went to commercial. So he's likely right after this. And that'll be kind of cool. We get to see him on here, and then he'll just pop back on, and we'll continue our stream. Now, when I presented that to him, he said, "Yeah, perfect. I'll do that. I'll come right back."
Okay. So we'll ask him.
There he goes.
We've ruffled some feathers up north, as in Canada. All right, over the weekend, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed his outrage that Canadian Muslims are thinking for themselves and expressing strong disagreement with moves to normalize radical sexual teachings in schools.
Leave our kids alone! Leave our kids alone! Many immigrant communities supported Trudeau, and now what's he saying? He's saying the Muslims are being brainwashed. We've always had a concern. It's what's happening in our schools is getting worse and worse and worse. And now they've crossed the red line. Our children are our red line.
Rather than perhaps reconsidering his nation's lurch to push these transgender and non-binary propaganda things on kids, Trudeau pulls a Hillary. Yeah, he blames the vast right-wing conspiracy.
There is an awful lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. People on social media, particularly fueled by the American right wing, are spreading a lot of untruths. These are people on the far right who have consistently stood against Muslim rights in the Muslim community. But they are weaponizing the issue of LGBT.
Of course, the angle was the first in cable to showcase Muslim parents, those who were fed up with sexual indoctrination squads and who are now working with social conservatives to stop the madness. Now, as for Trudeau, he's in his job for one reason, his last name. Well, maybe for another, maybe for his hair. It's pretty good. Now, personally, I love my Canadian friends, and it's a gorgeous place. But we're not about to take moralistic lectures from people who allow China to directly influence their elections, or to push more people to kill themselves, or to turn truckers into public enemies number one. Trudeau is a rather silly, fatuous man who touts multiculturalism, but really wants a dictatorship of ideas. Anyone who challenges his sacred cows may be canceled, punished, or in some cases, even jailed. Nice try, Justin. Joining me now is Theo Fleury, who is a Canadian NHL legend and Stanley Cup champ. Theo, I was dying to talk to you, and I saw these comments because we were the first ones to really showcase the Muslims working with social conservatives here in the United States. But Trudeau's the one trying to drive the wedge here, is he not?
Yeah, 100%. He has completely lost his own narrative. And everywhere he goes, Laura, in Canada, he is being met with angry crowds, lots of nasty rhetoric going back and forth. And we're in a really bad place and a bad state up in Canada right now, and it's all a direct result of Trudeau's ideologies and his divisiveness, and it's disgusting.
Well, the attack on the truckers that you and I talked about, their slow response really to what was happening with the Chinese infiltration in your elections. And really, we're trying to save Canada from the Chinese. I mean, we conservatives, and he turns around and bashes us. No, we're not playing that game. But is there a building opposition in your political system enough to really put the conservatives back in some kind of contention? Because it seems like we're always disappointed there.
You're actually watching your episode.
Yeah, well, Pierre Poilievre, who is the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, is gaining a lot of momentum, and people. He's getting big crowds at his events.
Good.
We just finished Stampede in Calgary here, the greatest outdoor show, and all of the politicians all came, and they were all spewing their rhetoric all throughout the last 10 days. But ultimately, we are headed towards a communist dictatorship if we're not already there already. But hopefully in the next little while here, we can get an election called, get a conservative government in power, and then hold that conservative government to
turn it around. I can't wait, by the way, Theo, to see biological women playing in the NHL. I'm looking forward to that happening. All right, Theo, great to see you. All right, we got to roll, but we'll be back soon. All right, with the new time.
Oh, that was so cool, Theo. And thanks for wearing a Trump hat. I was going to ask you to put it back on. I was going to ask you to put it back on. Yeah. If you came back with the other one, I was going to go, come on, give us a Trump one.
Oh, yeah.
That was podcast gold. Having you jump off, go on Fox, come back. We played it.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah. Thanks for that, man. I like that. I'm going to clip that. I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're back to the show you wanted to be on.
Yes, of course. Yes. Well, I got to make my token appearance on Fox, every couple months. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming back. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Well,
we can keep going.
I love talking about this stuff. I think it's important. I think it's critical, and we need more people speaking up, and if I can be an example of, that to people, to be unafraid, we we don't have to listen to government. We don't have to follow everything that they're doing. You know, we still, as of today, live in a democracy, and a democracy is run by the people, we the people. And you know, they've used very chicken shit tactics to scare and make people live in fear. And it's those of us who are fearless that are going to be, you know, the ones that change the momentum and the swing.
I agree with you. And right before you left for Laura, we were actually talking about how we can help people, and you're talking about getting something out, maybe a daily something. And I actually wanted to let you know, there's a whole bunch of us patriots getting together. I'm an actual nerd, so my training is 40 years technology. And yeah, and there's a bunch of us, I've won awards for this stuff. And there's a bunch of us that are coming together to put together like a Patriot network of some sort.
Okay.
In order to have like a channel where people can tune in and get it on their TV, Apple TV, get it on their Roku, get it all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Would you like to work with us and get your show on that and kind of maybe do something around that?
We could possibly do. So where do you live, Jason?
Breton, so just west of Edmonton.
Okay. And are you ever in Calgary?
Oh, I could be in Calgary quite often. I'll be down there for the Coots court case. So the 25th to the 29th, I'll be down there.
Okay, well, let's try and get together face to face and have a chat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jeremy McKenzie, we got Zach Schmidt,
cool.
House Podcast. There's a whole bunch of people that are looking to do something along this line.
Okay.
So this might be good timing. A little divine
I'd love to do something in the mental health space for sure, you know, because I think it's so important. And you know, like we have a foundation here in Calgary called the Breaking Free Foundation, and we run 2 programs. So the first program is we call it a meetup.
Okay.
Where twice a month, anybody wants to come and talk about trauma, mental health, and addiction can come. And we co-facilitate a conversation around that, right? And our second program is a therapy grant program where people can write to us and apply for a therapy grant. And once you're approved, we pay for 6 sessions with a trauma-informed therapist. And if you need more after that, you can reapply and we'll pay for more. But like every mental health system, like we have over 220 people on our waiting list who are waiting to get into therapy. And that's the whole entire mental health system across the board, is people can't get help, right? So in the meantime, you know, maybe we can provide some support, some online support, you know, where I'm just kind of hanging out with people and we're talking about what they're going through.
I know somebody that will help you a lot with that too. His name's Chris Erickson out of BC.
Okay. Yeah.
He's creating mental health spaces on Twitter Spaces.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
He's actually started to do that already. So he's doing it on Twitter, but we can also bring this into the podcast world and do this a daily thing.
Okay,
or something
cool.
Like that.
Cool.
Because I think what a lot of us recognize is that next batch is going to be a mental health battle as they're going through that vaccine stuff.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Carrie Sakamoto? She's out of Lethbridge.
Yes.
Have you heard that name yet?
I know her father-in-law very well. He was one of the biggest country music promoters in Canada. So yeah, I know. I'm very familiar. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to them yet, but I know she's been busy, you know, doing the circuit and talking, which is great. So, you know, that's an important lawsuit that we should all get behind.
Well, the reason why I bring it up is because we're working with her. So we brought out her story last week. We worked with Eva Chepowick. She reached out to us on the lawyer side of things. And I'm meeting with her on the 27th in Lethbridge. Okay. Kind of around when I'm down there. So maybe we can coordinate and we can all get together. Something along those lines.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, look at this. We're already making things happen just by having a podcast.
Making it happen.
And I think this is where the value is, just people talking, spitballing,
Yeah.
coming up with ideas and connecting.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? You know, they try to disconnect us, and our job is to stay connected. You know, the more we stay connected, the stronger, you know, the chain
Mhm.
gets. The more people, you know, we bring on board who are fearless, who are, you know, patriots, who are warriors, who, you know, that's what we need. That's what needs to happen, right?
Oh, this is awesome.
You know,
This is
it's
awesome.
about,
Do you know who?
you know, when I played for and been around some of the greatest leaders in our sport, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, every single one of them to a T was humble, was kind, made everybody feel a part of what was going on. Everybody had a role, everybody mattered, you know, and that's how I see this movement is everybody matters. Whether you think you do or not, you have a significant role in, you know, the way that this moves forward and the way that this plays out, right? We need more people more than ever to start speaking out.
Yeah.
And regardless of the consequences you face, you have to be strong in your conviction that no matter what they do, that you're going to overcome this. And we will overcome this, right? But we have to do it together.
Mhm.
You know, after, you know, I felt that after the convoys left Ottawa, that the freedom movement kind of imploded, you know, because
It might
everybody
have
was
paused.
scared. Everybody was scared. Everybody was, you know, kind of walking around on eggshells because they didn't know what the government was going to do to them.
Well, I think we were stunned because we got
Yeah.
hit really hard for the first time, and it kind of shook us. Go, wow! I couldn't
Yeah.
believe that. Like an abuse victim. Like
Yeah.
the first time that maybe the abuse was verbal, but the first time you punch her, that really changes things.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what happened to us here. We got punched February 22nd,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe we had to kind of come back from that, shake our head a bit, and maybe we
Yeah.
now are ready to stand up again.
Yeah. We need to get reorganized, but, you know,
It's happening
in a different way this time, you know,
with education and
yeah.
messaging. I think would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we just continue to do what we're doing on a daily basis is, you know, putting stuff out on Twitter and putting stuff on social media and, you know.
Yeah, so that's messaging. That's good, but I like what you did there with mental health. So opening up that channel, we might even be able to encourage the left to get some mental health assistance, and this could be a way of re-indoctrinating them or bringing them back. Is getting them some mental health.
Yeah, you know, healing is the answer to all of this, right? And you know, the cabal or the globalist or whatever the hell you want to call them, they don't
Those guys,
want they don't want us to, right? They want us to continue to live in fear. They want us to continue to, you know, to fall in line and all this stuff, right? And, you know, just
it's an addiction. They want us
Yeah.
addicted to them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
no matter what, we'll take whatever they give us. Even the bad stuff, we'll take it when you're
Oh
addicted.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you recognize that through your studies and your recovery.
Yeah.
Addiction sometimes you make feel good, but it also there's a lot of bad behind it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Well, what I'm going to do.
Addiction is, you know, it's just a coping mechanism to suppress emotional pain and suffering. That's all it is. That's all it is at the core. At the core of what it is, that's what it is. It's I'm in emotional pain. I'm suffering. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling angry, and nobody will understand. Nobody will understand how I feel.
Right.
Well, try me. You know. Right. And I always make myself available. Right.
You did for us today. Yeah.
I am on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can get a hold of me on social media. You can get a hold of me through my website. And you ask the people that I've helped, I guarantee they say, I sent Theo a message and within the hour he responded. So
I appreciate that you have that available. Like, again, like I said earlier, you could have just packed up and enjoyed the easy life. But I think this is the right life, right? It's not the easy one. It's the right life.
Yeah. Nothing in life is easy, right? You know,
you appreciate it more that way too.
Of course. Yeah. If it was easy, that everybody would be doing it, right? You know, but you know, the greatest lesson of adversity is resilience. And like I said, you know, you may be going through hell, but just keep going. Right?
Yes. Every day, just like with sobriety, one day at a time.
Yeah. And this is no different. Whether it's mental illness or, you know, loss, grief, loss, you know, whatever it is, you know, get up every day and, you know, just think of it different. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Take your shoes and socks off, get the hell outside, fucking ground yourself first thing in the morning. Do it. Guarantee you'll feel better. Just walk
That's
around
amazing
the grass.
you said that.
Right? Walk around the grass, get yourself grounded. Right? First thing you do in the morning. Pray, meditate, you know, listen to frequency, you know, get your frequency up so that those fuckers can't mess with you. Once your frequency is at a high frequency, there's fuck all they can do. Right?
The song "What's Your Frequency?" Kenneth is in my head now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
there's a few questions.
There's lots of great apps out there now that have all kinds of really cool frequencies for pain and physical pain, emotional pain, you know, whatever. It's all out there.
It's a cool name. So what do you call that frequency? Is there a name we can use for the network for that?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Patriot frequency warrior.
Beta, delta. Yeah.
Let's think about it. When we get together, we got to come up with some names.
Have you seen the map of consciousness?
No. Can you show it to me?
Google that map of consciousness, and it shows you where you know different conscious levels are, different frequencies. I can't remember. The guy that wrote the book is called Power versus Force, or Power versus Force. Hawkins, last name is Hawkins, and he came up with this map of consciousness. And you know what they did? They had a group of people every day at noon meditate in one of the most crime-ridden areas in, I think it was Washington. And they went there and they meditated every day for an hour. And guess what happened? Crime dropped.
So this is the map?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll share this with this episode so people can go and find this.
Yeah. So when you increase your frequency, you also increase the frequency of people around you when you get, and the cabal people live down in that bottom zone. That's where they are. And that's
especially
where
guilt judgment, for sure.
Right. And that's where all of us are gravitating towards, because those insane people are bringing down our frequency. So
and this is why the government.
Yeah. So we need to get to that love, joy, freedom, and ultimately to the enlightened stage. Because once you're in that space, there's nothing they can do. Nothing.
Right.
And
if we all get there as a collective, this thing's over. It's over. Right.
Yeah.
And I can see a lot of people, they're stuck in the 4D part here, the reason to courage. And this is where they're attacking with science and experts and don't believe reality, don't believe your eyes, all that kind of stuff. This is where they're attacking that one, bringing us down to 3D there.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to get to 5D as quick as possible. Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm gonna get you over to that Twitter space shortly, but there's a few questions here if you don't mind, because you got some fans here, my friend. I think that's
Cool.
pretty obvious. Azario out in Ontario says that he'd love to hear your thoughts on the LGBTQ efforts regarding trans rights and drag time.
It's called grooming, and grooming is against the law.
And
So
it's
where
very dangerous.
So where are the police? Where are the child and family services? Because last time I checked, it's against the law to groom anybody.
Okay,
Right?
I'm going to break your heart right now. Oshawa Child Protective Services or something like that, one of the ones in Ontario's,
Mhm.
they hold drag time story time.
Oh, I know.
They actually have the event.
I know.
That's your answer.
it's-
Like the
Yeah.
protection of the children are the ones pushing this.
Yeah.
So we need something
Yeah.
else.
Well, and think about how gutless you are that you have to go after children, right? You know, those are the. You know, I have friends. I have lots of gay friends. I stood up for a couple of my sisters. I was their best man in their wedding. You know, I have nothing against that. But what
Sure.
I do have a problem with is when I see grooming happening, I have a problem with that. Because I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor
That's right.
of being groomed. So I know what it looks like. Like, you're not fooling me. You know, you can't spin it. You can't, you know what I mean? It's grooming is grooming is grooming is grooming. And that is against the law. Bottom line, simple.
It's
what it
it's
is.
incredible that we have to keep saying this again. Like, people don't know this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, you know, but you know what, they set up the argument for us not to win the argument.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And all of them, like, even you don't care about your grandma type of argument for the vaccine.
Yes.
Like, they
Yes.
make these arguments that are hard to debate.
Which is Marxist ideology, right? You know,
That's 101.
We've seen this movie before, you know. Like, I have compassion for everybody, compassion for all, you know.
Yeah.
But
Like,
but I have a certain set of beliefs. You have a certain set of beliefs. I'm not going to push my beliefs on you. So don't push them on me, and we'll be perfectly fine. Right? We have a lot
Right.
more in common than we do not in common. Right? I don't care what you do when you're in your own home. Doesn't bother me. But when I see you supporting the grooming of kids, which is against the law, then as a principled person, then I have to step in.
right.
Right?
And I love that, and that's where we're supposed to, whether it's our
Yeah.
children or not. And this is where I think this whole Muslim thing is getting twisted. So it's not the Muslims; it's parents who happen to be Muslim.
Right. Yes. But they
That's
have
who's
to
up.
attach. They have to attach that piece so that they can. So it's not debatable.
Right.
Right. So then we get into that gray areas of, might be racist, might be. No. At the bottom line is, you are sexualizing children. Right. We know what your end goal is you want to legalize pedophilia.
Right. Maps.
That's where
they're headed.
That's where we're all headed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a person who is considered an expert in this category,
Yes.
you are breaking the law. And when you break the law, as a principled person, I have to hold you to accountability. But as we all know, the left wants no part of accountability.
Look, there's some good news.
One arrest, this is over. This is all over. One arrest, whether that's Gates, Fauci, whatever, it's all over. We need one arrest.
There's some good news. Have you heard of Josh Alexander?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had him on and we were talking, and he's only 17, and yet he's battling, just like you are, battling all these massive demons. His school, actually, I was talking to Alex Cabana. You should meet him. He would give you a great interview. What he was doing security. He's a vet. He's highly skilled. And he told me, and I didn't know this, that they use dirty needles, the other side. So they have syringes with HIV in it, insulin, and other things. And that's what they're using to go around to poke people. So he had to make sure that there was level 1 armor on the people around Josh, because that was there. They're called dirty needles. And this is what the other side are doing. Now you can imagine there's a video, they come up, you don't see a gun, you don't see a weapon, but they poke you with a needle, and then you respond and beat them. I think this is what they're trying to do.
Right. Okay.
So we got to watch out for this type of evil, where they're even trying to put HIV into a 17-year-old just for standing up for what he believes in.
That's insane. That's next level insanity, right?
Yeah. And I asked him, like, did you see them, or their eyes? Like, what kind of people are doing this? He said, look, they have shark eyes. They're just black. You don't see anything. They're chanting and they're making these sounds and they're going out there. They're highly dangerous.
Yeah. Well, it's George Soros's army. Right?
So that's what we're against now.
Yeah. Crazy. It's so crazy. It really is, when you think about it, like, that they talk about this, they talked about it in the Bible, right? Here it is, right? Sodom,
you think we're that close?
Sodom and Gomorrah, right? We're getting close. We got to be getting close, right?
Hey, I'm just going to throw this on you. We have 4 cowboys. We have 4 cowboys in jail, right?
Yeah.
Another name for cowboy is horsemen. We got to free these horsemen.
Yeah.
The 4 of them.
We do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna circle back with you on that one and maybe talk a bit more about that another day. But if we get your voice on the Coots 4, I think that would help us a lot. Actually, we're down there on the 25th, right? So the courthouse is on the 25th in Lethbridge. What are you doing that morning?
Is it August 25th or July? I'll have to check my schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll buy you a coffee.
Okay.
We'll maybe get you out there. A couple more questions and then we'll jump to that space.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that want to talk to you.
Okay.
Out of Nova Scotia, any thoughts on getting into coaching? I don't know if it's hockey or otherwise.
Hockey coaching?
I don't know if they mean hockey or just coaching in general, because you're doing that as well, right?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot. I've been doing tons of life coaching since I left the game. As opposed, hockey coaching, never gonna happen. No. No,
but it's your life coaching.
I don't relate to the kids who play hockey anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a generational thing, or are you just in a different headspace now?
Yeah. I'm old school, like super old school. So I think they would tune me out very quickly.
That'd be a shame, because they'd be getting some good advice, especially if some of them have their own traumas that they're going through. They should hear from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but I love what I'm doing now. So.
No, you're in a great spot. So I think you are where you need to be. Theo, have you seen The Sound of Freedom?
I have not. I probably won't go see it because of my past experience. I'm a little worried about getting triggered.
Right.
But I already know what the movie's about. I lived it. I experienced it. Maybe not the trafficking side of it, but the manipulation and the coercion and, the ultimate sexual abuse that I experienced, I can relate. But I'm saying no today, but that might change. Right.
Yeah. And it's incredible how the left are attacking people that talk about that movie in a positive way. Like, how could you even attack that movie?
Well, those are the people that are probably buying our buyers.
Right. Because it's trafficking.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Where there's supply and demand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
Brother.
Well, it's another addiction, right? Sex addiction, right? And the thing about pedophiles is, even though they know that they're doing something wrong, the urge is greater than the common sense. So even though they know what they're doing is wrong, they can't control themselves. So when you see Joe Biden sniffing kids, that's a perfect example. His urge is greater than his own common sense. He cannot help himself.
Absolutely, because he's been told and people are begging him to stop doing it, but he just can't stop himself.
Can't stop himself, right? And you know what? I work in the prison system in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and I work with pedophiles. And you know what pedophiles tell me? Do not let me out of this place.
Truthful ones, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because they know it's
They
an
know.
urge.
Yeah.
So you're
And
forward castration if they accept it.
98% of pedophiles that get out of jail reoffend.
Reoffend.
98. So why are we letting them out?
So your position is forever. Is
Yeah.
no snipping, no chemical, none of that will help.
No.
You know
unless
better
you give
than
them a
most.
lobotomy, where they, but yeah, like there are certain kinds and types of pedophilia that can be rehabilitated. So I think we need to, from a compassionate, empathetic lens, but while they're incarcerated, they need to do that work.
Right.
They can't do that work out in society.
Don't leave it up
Right.
to them.
Yeah. But if there's an opportunity, because in Canada, we don't have a justice system. We only have a legal system.
I
Right.
said that in my speech yesterday
Yeah.
or on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep. It's true.
So, pedophiles should be getting, because it's rape, right? Ultimately, it's rape, but some smart aleck lawyer switched and used the phrase sexual abuse. But ultimately, it's rape. And rape carries more time than sexual abuse.
Right.
And now there's several different categories underneath sexual abuse. So they've almost eliminated rape because they have all these different categories, but ultimately it's rape. I was raped 150 times by my coach, not sexually abused, not buggery, not all these other I was raped 150 times, and my guy did less than 10 years in prison.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's our legal
if we
system. It's not a
give these
justice
guys sentences in jail that are long enough that we can explore rehabilitation, yeah, then we need to do that.
Agreed.
But a year and a half sentences and you serve 6 months and then you go back out and you reoffend, that ain't doing anything, right? That ain't doing any good for society. We're still exposing kids to dangerous people.
We do have to attack
You
the adults first.
do the crime, you got to do the time.
Yeah,
That's the way
we
it
have
is.
to help the adults. You're
Yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah.
Another couple quick questions, and we'll hush you there because there's a lot of people waiting. Doings, is Theo willing to talk to Jeremy McKenzie? So would you like to meet with him? Chat with him?
About what?
I don't know. This guy's asking if you would like to meet him or talk to him.
I talked to Jeremy when he was in Ottawa during the convoy. He was giving me updates and we were chatting back and forth. I really like Jeremy. I think he's
a good guy.
He's a good human, and he served our country, and now they're doing that to him. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Well, we're 2 days away from maybe some good news for him.
Good.
We'll keep you posted on that one. The 19th is a big day for him.
Good.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I'll pray for him.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Island Jason's asking, do you think there will be a revolt? Ever be a revolt? Are we going to have our 1776?
I hope.
A lot of people are saying we're in 1775 right now.
Yeah. Well,
we just need some maple syrup in a harbor and we're good to go.
It's legitimate for sure. I think people's frustrations are, at an all-time high. I hope cooler heads prevail.
Yeah.
I think, Jagmeet Singh is the guy in this whole equation that, has probably done the most damage by propping up Trudeau. We could possibly already have a conservative government in place if it wasn't for him. So yeah, I think we need to put more pressure on him and the national, the new Democratic Party of Canada. You know,
There's
isn't it interesting that, you know, after the last couple elections, you know, they were in debt $7 million. So did Trudeau pay Singh's debt to get the coalition?
it might be
Anybody
worse
ever
than
thought
that.
about that?
Yeah, it might be
Right?
worse than that. They go
Yeah.
way back to
Yeah.
the young global leaders.
True.
They were both in that program together.
Yeah.
They go back. I think.
Klaus Schwab's School of Psychopaths.
Yeah, do you know what I think they actually promised him? I think they promised him prime minister. I don't think it will happen, but I believe he believes it because he's made a comment about that.
Yeah, I just laugh when he says that.
Yeah, but he thinks it.
Yeah.
Now, there's some talk like the new Democrat Liberal Party, like there might be a merger at some point.
Oh, okay.
And who knows? That might be a good thing for conservatives if they go and mess up that bad.
Yeah,
That might be a
for
good thing.
sure. Yeah.
Now, Ellen has the most hard-hitting question, so I have to bring it up. She wants to know where you got that hat.
Well, you remember when I went to do Tucker Carlson?
Okay.
I went to his studio.
Mm-hmm.
So Joseph and I went to Portland, Maine to visit with Tucker. We spent 2 days with him.
Cool.
And then we flew to New York to spend 2 days with Roger Stone. So we got to hang out with Roger Stone. So while I was in New York,
How's he doing?
He's doing good. Yeah, he's doing good. Yeah, I saw he was at the Turning Point. He actually spoke at the Turning Point event they just had. That, you know, to the one that Tucker absolutely buried Mike Pence at.
Right.
Yeah. But I went to Trump Tower and went to the gift shop, and there was this hat. I said, I got to get it. So.
Very good. Now they're also asking about the fringe hat. Is there somewhere they can order that one?
Yes.
That one.
That is, oh man, I'm embarrassed that I can't.
No problem. If you get it to me later, I can pass it on to everybody.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's the guy in Calgary who's running for mayor. He has his own little show on YouTube.
Okay, we'll look him up. The guy running for mayor in Calgary. I bet you my chat can pull that up very quickly here as well.
Yeah.
So you're saying if I send you a hat, you might wear it?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
I wear hats 24/7.
I'll be bringing him down to Calgary with me. I'll get you in one of my hats for sure. And I have one last question, and this is from John. And he always has long questions, but they're good. And it's the last one. Question for Theo. Does he believe it is time for Canadians to create a new culture, to build a new Canada for our children, to stop looking in the rearview mirror for what we cannot change? So he's asking for culture in a new Canada. What do you think?
Well, we definitely, the old system that we live under is like, it's not working, right? Like we can never, like once we get rid of Trudeau, eventually that's going to happen. We can never allow a leader in Canada have that much power ever again in the history of this country, which means we probably need to go down the road of becoming a republic. You know, and get out of the grasp of the royal British ruling and, you know,
leave the Commonwealth.
Leave the Commonwealth and come up with our own, you know, constitution and republic.
And do you think Danielle has the kahunas to do that?
No.
Right. So we may have another election to fix this.
Yeah. Well, I might have to run.
I was about to ask you honestly. Would you run? I could help you with that.
I just have to wait till my daughter gets out of high school, and then I will consider it.
You're going to have a large graduation party on her high school, by the way. Half of Canada will be there congratulating her on her graduation and then ushering you into a conversation about how we make you into a politician. Theo, I think you would do Canada a lot of justice, even just running. I think you would do a lot of justice. I can connect you with people like Rob Anders down in Calgary.
I know those guys.
There's a lot of people out there.
So Derek Smith, his platform is on Twitter, Unacceptable Fringe.
Okay.
That's where you can get this hat.
Derek Smith on Twitter, unacceptable fringe. We'll look that up and we'll share that
Yeah.
around, Theo.
And he has written all of those books. Hang on. Let's pull this up. How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom, One Face, Two Face, Black Face, Blue Face, Hold the Line, the Ballad of Tamara Litch. So he's written a whole bunch of best-selling books about this craziness that we've been going through.
Okay, we'll look him up and we'll share all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get it into the space. So I'm going to bring Kevin on now, who's the host of the Twitter space we're going to send you to. He's just going to let everybody know how to find it, and then we'll get started on that.
Okay, cool.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I was listening to the whole show and what you guys were saying. Watched the streaming of Fox News. So I figured that I would just create a spaces, and I'm sure Theo recognizes my Twitter name. He retweets me often.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, so I figured I'd start a spaces, and any like-minded people that were really interested or really want to hear a little bit more, have like an hour or two to really get into it, because there are some questions that I do want to ask you, Theo, too, just based on everything that we heard. So I'm going to start the spaces now, and then I'm going to link it into the comment section of my group chat. I can send it to you on DM as well, and then we can get that rolling as soon as you're off here. And if you feel like you need to leave or whatnot, no problem. Any time with you is good, and I appreciate it. But and I just want to say thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. You just have to keep an eye on Laura there, Kevin. She likes to scoop up our guests. Okay, great. So you're going to tweet that out. We'll be able to find it. Gov Corrupt. So it'll be on your timeline in a few moments. We can go find it there.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to go get my headset. And
thanks, Theo. We'll see you there, buddy.
And I'll see you in the
thanks, guys.
Okay,
thanks,
boys.
Kevin.
Cheers.
Okay, thanks, Cleve. We'll see you there. I'm going to wrap up now.
Great to meet you, man.
Great to meet you, and we're going to talk a lot. I think we're brought together for a reason here, Theo.
Sounds
so
good.
We'll chat some more.
Thanks, brother. Okay.
Take care, bud.
Cheers.
He shoots, he scores, folks. He shoots, he scores. Now I just let you in on a little secret. We're building something. Do you have a Roku? Do you want a little app that says Patriot Warriors? Patriot Warrior? Something along those lines? A Daily Wire for Canada. Daily Wire Plus for Canada is what we're talking about. Building. You can subscribe to it. You can get all your stuff. You might see Jeremy on there. You might see me. Well, you'll definitely see me. You might even see Theo now. Do you guys want that? Canada, do you want that? Do you want to have an app, a streaming app, where patriots are there all the time? Would you support us through some sort of subscription? Doesn't have to go into our pockets. We can help people. But would you guys want to do that? Let me know. Tweet it to me. Let me know, because we're working hard on it. There's quite a few podcasters who are behind the scenes. We all have our own shows. We still would have our own shows, our own platforms, because you never know, if something gets canceled. But we would also be sending our streams to a common platform where you guys can all find us. Is that something you guys would like? I see a lot of yeses in here. Sounds great. Yes, great show. Yeah. All right. So as you heard, I'm headed down to Lethbridge next week. Chris Isaac called me again today, by the way. I love those calls. Headed down there. I'm going to likely meet him in person. I'm definitely going to meet Theo in person. I'm going to try and get one of those unfringed hats. I'm going to put one of my hats on him, and he's going to check his schedule. Maybe he'll be outside that courthouse and just show a little bit of support. That would be cool. That would be cool, Theo. So I hope you do. So, folks, thank you all very much. That was an excellent episode. We've never done this whole let's share a guest with Fox News. Laura, call me. Maybe I'll have you on next time. And if you're going to steal one of my guests, give me a heads up. I'm going to make sure Peter McCullough turns his phone off, okay? But that was pretty cool that we were able to find the stream. I guess they're not live, but they're pretty close to live. So a small delay there, maybe for programming purposes. But we kind of got to see that in action. He left with the unfringed hat, shows up on Fox with a Trump hat, comes back with a Trump hat. How cool was that? Hey? How cool was that? So thank you very much, Theo. I really appreciated that. What a gentleman. He was open to talk about anything. He had some very tough stories to share with us, but he's on a path. I think it's divine, and he knows it, and he's doing the right thing. So I am impressed that I might be able to call this man my friend. I might be able to spend some more time with him and assist him in his journey as well. Getting his program online, getting his stuff online, getting his stuff out there for other people, mental health. What a brilliant plan for him. I really like that. So thank you all very much for being here. Go to GovCorrupt. I'll retweet it as well. I'll retweet that link. I'm going to do my best to get in there. I've had troubles actually being able to talk. Don't know if I'm being censored or something with Twitter, but I'm going to try and meet there and continue this conversation with Theo. So please all, when I sign off here, go to Twitter, join a space. If you're not on Twitter, it's worth going for this. And you can just listen. You don't have to talk, but it should be an interesting conversation. So thank you, Kevin, for jumping on and hosting that space. I appreciate that. And thank you, Theo, for giving us a little bit of overtime. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. And to all of you watching, I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying the guests. And there's more. Tomorrow we have a guy by the name of Kirk Reese. This is going to be a different show for us because he's a whistleblower. He's been out for a while. He's having a hard time getting a story out. I don't know much about the story, and I'm doing that on purpose because I want him to tell me his story. I've had people tell me that he's the real deal, and I've had people tell me to proceed with caution. So I'll proceed with caution. But I do want to hear his story. There's something there. Either he's really, really onto something, or he's struggling with something. In either case, I think it's worth having a chat with him because we can help him on both of those cases. If he needs some more spotlight and attention and platforming because he's got something there, great. We will assist him on that one. And if he needs some help and he needs somebody to talk to and he needs a community and he needs to find his tribe, we'll help there too. So we're going to find out tomorrow what we're dealing with. But my spidey senses say there's something here. All right. So thank you all to those who reached out to me and give me a little bit of a heads up, give me some background on Kurt. I'm interested in seeing what he has. We might have to pull the plug. We might not be on YouTube, but we'll see. All right. So join me tomorrow for that one. It should be an interesting conversation. All right. So thank you all very much. Great chat, great conversation, and a great guest. You know how I feel about you all. I love you. God bless. Are you still here? Because if you're still here, I have a secret present for you. I got an extra video. So to all those that jumped off, didn't want to wait till the end of the song, you're going to miss this. So you can catch it later. But I have a little special video for you. This is we just finished our second month. We now just started our third month. Theo is the first guest of month 3. So let me play for you our month 2 thank you video. Hasn't been shown anywhere else yet. It'll be posted later tonight. But I thought I would share it with you first. Especially you stuck around and saw this. Here's a little treat for you.
Well, it sure does seem like things are getting crazy out there. Trains off the rail, there's a dark cloud up in the air. And it's been going on so long, it's hard to find a reason to care. So I can get bent out of shape, or I can answer with a mile-long stare. I'd rather get a little homegrown place out in the country I could call my own. Space to grow a garden neath the greenhouse dome, raise a little family. I'd grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. You can spend your time tracking rabbit holes you can't change, or you can head offline, keep yourself from going insane. That don't mean you shouldn't be aware of what's going on, but you should know by now you're better off taking care of your own. Get a little homegrown place out in the country I could call my own. Space to grow a garden neath the greenhouse dome, raise a little family. I'd grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. Country cook walleye, teaching my kids how to drop a deer with hindsight. Dirt road, no lights, local bar wing nights, beers with the boys and occasional fist fights. RC scared of me, OSIN aware of me. Oh shit, back's free, safety stay away from me. Grown Manitoban with a heart like a lion, long teeth like a yoke. Can you hear them dogs crying? Homegrown place out in the country I can call my own. So I could grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. I'll get a little homegrown place out in the country I could call my own. Space to grow a garden neath the greenhouse dome, raise a little family. I'll grow a little homegrown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. Watch your kids get all grown, sit out on the porch, get a little bit stoned, and watch the sunset behind my happy home. That sure sounds like heaven to me. It really sounds like heaven. Ooh, it sure sounds like heaven to me.
I love you, Canada. God bless. And thank you very much.